do before I start on the new network. The new network is using Blog Talk Radio, so I am attempting to get my feet under me while I have the chance right here on my own little station. So what do you say we go ahead and start the show? Because you're listening to Surrounded by Idiots.
We are poor little lambs who have lost our way.
This message is transmitted at the request of the United States Office of Civil Defense at 3:40 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. NORAD detected a long-range nuclear missile launch in North Korea.
You're moving into a land of both shadow and substance, of things and ideas. You just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
The only real effect I can have is to create the impression that things aren't as bad as they are, to give our people time, the opportunity to survive.
I guess I just never realized I'd gone so far. We've lost so much control.
Totalitarianism doesn't need armies. It only needs to control a couple of things: the media and the ability to dispense privilege to some and withhold it from others. Of course, a weak and divided people helps.
There is only one holistic system of systems. One vast and immense, interwoven, interactive, multivariate, multinational dominion of dollars. Petrodollars, electrodollars, multi-dollars, Reichsmarks, rands, rubles, pounds, and shekels. It is the international system of currency which determines the totality of life on this planet.
Wake up, America, the change has begun.
Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the show. Let's get it started. I've got an hour reserved here on Blog Talk Radio. The number to call in, if you would like to, is area code 347-215-8832. That's 347-215-8832. We should be broadcasting the screen right now, according to our streaming service. It is actually up and running, and that would be screenleap.com/BillZam. screenleap.com/BillZam. Now, as you regular viewers and listeners to my extravaganza on the air know, I was taken down for about 6 months. I had a viral infection in my lungs, and it also got into my heart. And we had several friends of ours die from the same thing during the previous year. So the assumption was made that this was probably the same virus, and I happened to have gotten it in time. Now, at the same time that I had the virus in my lungs and in my heart, and my lungs were filling with fluid, and there was fluid all around my heart and everything, I also developed some additional neurological problems in addition to the ones that I had before, and I developed something called neurocardiogenic syncope, which is when the nerves that control your heart, that communicate from the brain, become disconnected. So my heart and my brain aren't disconnected, so there's no real control for my blood pressure anymore. My blood pressure just goes all over the place. So now I am prone to fainting. And from what I've read, there's really no treatment. There are some drugs that you can use, but nothing much that can be done about it. So I have decided that on August 7th, I was approached by a online network called the Freedom Talk Radio 2013 Network. I was approached by these guys, and they said they're looking for some hosts in America. So I responded and said, I'm willing to give it a try, God willing, and usually he is. much to my surprise. So, on August 7th of this year, 2013, I am going to be doing a weekly Wednesday show for 2 hours every Wednesday night from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So it should be pretty interesting. We have a ton of excellent guests lined up. It is an incredible lineup of guests. I consider myself to be blessed by God himself to be able to get this type of guest lineup. I have 4 weeks in a row where we're going to be talking about immigration, border security, and national security. I even have somebody who was in the White House doing national security for a former president that is going to be on September 11th. It is a major coup to get this person on September 11th because she is very, very popular. Now, before we get to the stories tonight, I wanted to read you some quotes. These are the quotes that I'm going to read you, and in a little while, I'm going to tell you who said these. Here is the first quote. Here's a series of quotes. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot lift the wage earner up by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by inciting class hatred. You cannot build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. This person also wrote this: to read the Bible as the Word of God himself, that in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, and to preach from that in the sweat of other men's faces shalt thou eat bread, to my mind can scarcely be reconciled with honest sincerity. Do you know who said these things? I'm going to give you the answer in just a little while. Think about that. Think about who could have said these things. Here they are again. It's on the screen share, which is on screenleap.com/Bill Zam. Go there and it should pop right up. Here is a story that has been making the rounds, and honestly I have not seen a lot of activity about it, but I feel that it is critically important in helping all of us understand what exactly is going on and what exactly the people that supposedly are in charge of the United States and the country's policies around the world. Because it doesn't matter if you're in the UK, it doesn't matter if you're in Russia, Japan, China, Mexico, or Canada. The United States policies, both economic, political, and social, do affect your country. It is the way it is, just as what happens in your country also affects us. So it is in everybody's best interests to keep an eye on everything that's going on. That's why my new co-host on the show, when we switched to the new network, the Freedom Talk Radio 2013 network, is Andy Preacher. He is one of the owners of the network, and it is a UK-based network. In fact, last Saturday, I was on the air with him and one of his other hosts for 2 hours, and apparently it went very well. But this is the story that we should think about, and that is this right here. In the country formerly known as the United States of America, we have now irrevocably moved into the world of both Catch-22 and Monty Python. In fact, I am expecting a skit about dead parrots to start at any time. And it's not funny, so stop laughing. It's all fun and games until somebody gets killed. And that is what's going to happen eventually. This is the part where people begin to disappear, when people are sent to re-education camps and just plain killed. We have not only entered into the Twilight Zone, but we have also entered into the world of The Walking Dead, where the zombies follow whatever the heck it is that zombies follow. For now, it is some type of a crime for a military chaplain in the former United States military to use religious language. You heard that right. You read that right, as well as hearing it correctly. A chaplain in the Air Force quoted President Dwight D. Eisenhower and is now in hot water. Apparently, we all now have to be Shakespeare in our writing efforts, lest we get picked out. The Military Religious Freedom Foundation has filed a complaint saying that the coercive power of government must be used to punish a military officer who is also an ordained Christian minister for making ordinary religious references consistent to his faith. Let's look at the story. It is from Breitbart, Breitbart.com. And for those of you that are watching the screen stream, there is a photo of said chaplain. This story begins right here, and right now too. Let me adjust the screen stream a little bit there. That should be better for everybody. A Christian chaplain in the military is being officially censored for engaging in free speech, and anti-Christian activists are demanding he be punished. Lieutenant Colonel Kenneth Rees, R-E-Y-E-S, is a Christian chaplain currently serving in the U.S. Air Force. He is stationed at the Joint Base at Elmendorf-Richardson in Alaska. He is an ordained clergyman. His duties are to provide religious instruction and spiritual counseling. And he has a page on the base's website called The Chaplain's Corner. He recently wrote an essay called No Atheists in Foxholes, Chaplains Gave All in World War II. Where does this saying come from? Let's take a look. Over on the Wikipedia page. The statement, "There are no atheists in foxholes," is a proverb used to argue that in times of extreme stress or fear, such as in war, all people will believe in or hope for a higher power. If you're over the age of, I'd have to say probably 40 or so, you know, you're familiar with this because it has been used many times over the years. It is a very, very famous quote. The origin of the quotation is uncertain. United States military chaplain William T. Cummings may have said it in a battlefield sermon during the Battle of Bataan. Other sources credit Lieutenant Colonel Warren J. Clear, who was also at Bataan, or Lieutenant William Casey. But the phrase is most often attributed to the great war correspondent Ernie Pyle. And anybody that is a journalist, a broadcaster, a filmmaker, or anybody that does documentaries or anything else, one of your heroes is Ernie Pyle. What that guy did during World War II, doing correspondence work in war zones, it just sends chills up and down your spine that the guy was willing to risk his life to be in harm's way and to tell the families of the men and women that were fighting in World War II about what was happening. Now, in particular to this story, it was also quoted by President Dwight D. Eisenhower in remarks broadcast from the White House as part of a February 7th, 1954 American Legion program. This fella was quoting Dwight D. Eisenhower, who said, "I am delighted that our veterans are sponsoring a movement to increase our awareness in God in our daily lives. In battle, they learned a great truth, that there are no atheists in foxholes." That is a direct quote from Dwight D. Eisenhower. As reported from Fox News' Todd Stearns, when Rees referenced this famous line in his essay, the Military Religious Freedom Foundation, MRFF, contacted the base commander, Colonel Brian Duffy, demanding he take action on Rice's anti-secular diatribe. That's right, one sentence is an anti-secular diatribe. And the letter says that the use of bigoted religious supremacist phrase, no atheists in foxholes, he defiles the dignity of service members. Amazing. And the author of this at Breitbart says, "My legal research on this issue has uncovered no regulation prohibiting his speech, which looks like expression protected by free speech and religious freedom provisions of the First Amendment. Military leaders did not respond to Fox News' inquiries asking the Air Force to identify any such rules. Nonetheless, only 5 hours after MRFF's complaint, the essay was removed from the website. Duffy has profusely apologized to MRFF for not stopping this religious leader from sharing his religious thoughts." And that's the article over at Breitbart.com in the Big Piece section. It is amazing. But know this. If this can happen to a man of the cloth, an ordained minister, being piled on about a simple quote from an American president, then every single one of us is a target. The question that we have to ask ourselves as citizens is this: when will enough be enough? And that is that story that disturbs me so much. And I see we have a few more listeners to the show. Very good. I thank everybody for showing up tonight for the final test show. If you would like to see what I am looking at, my show notes, you can go to screenleap.com/BillZam. screenleap.com/BillZam. And these show notes, of course, along with the audio of the show, will be available at USSAMichigan.com after the show. And it will probably be also up on our YouTube channel. Pardon me while you experienced some dead air. Most broadcasters will tell you that dead air is a really bad thing. That's a really horrible thing. I say dead air builds anticipation. Now, let me read you another quote. Actually, let me go back up to these other quotes. See if you can tell who's responsible for these. I'm going to read them again so that the new listeners, people that are just tuned in, can see if they can figure out who said this. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot lift the wage earner up by pulling the wage payer down. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by inciting class hatred. You cannot build character and courage by taking away people's initiative and independence. You cannot help people permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. He also wrote this: to read in the Bible as the Word of God Himself, that in the sweat of thy face thou shalt thou eat bread. Let me read that over again. To read in the Bible as the Word of God Himself, that in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, and then to preach from that, in the sweat of other man's faces shalt thou eat bread, to my mind can scarcely be reconciled with honest sincerity. Who do you think said that? Who do you think said that? Now, let's go down here. Those of you that are watching on the screen stream can already see who said this. So who said those things I quoted? Do you know? The same person that President Obama is compared to on a regular basis. One Abraham Lincoln. Now, if Lincoln were alive today, the Democrats would hate him as much as they did in 1860, and they would call him a Tea Partier or a terrorist. Because technically, folks, according to the Department of Homeland Security, if I say I believe in the Constitution of the United States as it was written and as should be followed by the United States government, I am now officially a marked terrorist to the country of the United States of America. And I will give you another little tip from my overactive mind. My co-host on the new show, Andy Preacher, he's in the UK. One of the other hosts that's on the network is in Canada. We talk to each other frequently. And so, the NSA says they only really save or listen to conversations that are going to overseas. So every time I call Andy Preacher, and probably every time we are on the air together, it's going to be recorded by the NSA. How do you like that? Isn't that something? So I expect at any time the jackbooted thugs to show up at the front door of the studio and take me away. Now I also have another quote. I'm in the quoting mood tonight because a lot of these quotes are fairly timely, I think. And my efforts to do an hour show, takes about an hour to do an hour show. And I want to make sure that I fill up the time and give everybody something worth listening to, because this will be up on Blog Talk Radio. It'll be up at the website. It will be up at USSAMichigan.com and probably on the New Network's website as well after this, because I'm going to forward it to them. Here is the quote. Now listen to this. This, I will tell you, is from one of the founding fathers of the United States of America. It is prophetic. It is prophetic. Listen to this. If ever the time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seats in government, our country will stand in need of its experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. Think about that. Think about that one first sentence. If ever men shall possess the highest seats in government who are vain and aspiring, our country will be in need of its most experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. There may be more danger of this than some, even if our well-disposed citizens may imagine. If the people should grant their suffrages to men only because they conceive them to have been friends to the country without regard to the necessary qualifications for the places they are to fill, the administration of government will become a mere farce. Let me read that over again. Listen carefully. If the people should grant their suffrages to men, in other words, elect them, if the people should elect people only because they conceive them to have been friends to the country, without regard to the necessary qualifications for the places or positions they are to fill, the administration of government will become a mere farce. Does that sound familiar? And our public affairs will never be put on the footing of solid security. We should inquire into the tempers of men in order to form a judgment in what manner the public trusts to be reposed to them will be executed. We should inquire of them exactly how they are going to execute the public trust. I hope our countrymen will always keep a watchful eye over the public conduct of those whom they exalt to power, making at the same time every just allowance for the imperfections of human nature. And I pray God that we may never see men filling the sacred seats of government who are either wanting in adequate abilities or influenced by any views or feelings separate from the public welfare. That, ladies and gentlemen, was written by Samuel Adams to James Warren on October 24th, 1780. Prophetic, I say. Prophetic. So let's go down to our next story, which is this. Common Core. Have you ever heard of Common Core? It is a new teaching method, a new set of standards for the little snowflakes in the schools, whose brains of mush are being filled with false facts, statements, history, mathematics, knowledge, and opinions that they should not be filled with. However, the people in charge have decided to kick it up a notch. Common Core is another attempt at societal suicide by brainwashing. Common Core, the inept attempt at brainwashing our children into the fascist communist world of the United States, is a really bad idea. Here's the question. Do we still teach in public schools our common culture, our common identity, our common true history, or values such as hard work, charity, morals, virtue, and the rule of law? With the exception of homeschooling and a few private schools, the answer is no. We teach secular education, green environmentalism, and the new religion of Mother Earth, and now the Common Core education. Let's take a look at the article that I am quoting this from. This comes from Canada Free Press, CanadaFreePress.com, and their motto is, because without America, there is no free world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, should just about bring you to tears these days. This was written by a Dr. Elena Jackson Powell, I believe. It is pronounced P-A-U-G-H is her last name. Common Core teaches community organizing for the collective. And this is from Thursday, July 25th, last week. So it's pretty current. Here are the highlighted items from this particular article. Few parents actually know what Common Core education is. Teachers who are finding out do not seem to care. Let the state fight it out, is what they say. For teachers, it is a means to an end. The end translates into keeping their jobs and a paycheck coming in this tough economy, which the current administration celebrates as a recovery from a self-induced coma. Although touted as a means to improve education standards, the Brookings Institute said this: empirical evidence suggests that the Common Core will have little effect on American students' achievement. The nation will have to look elsewhere for ways to improve its schools. That's from the Brookings Institute, a very respected organization. There is a video that has come out, a video surface that shows that wrong answers in math are acceptable. Wrong answers in math are acceptable under Common Core standards as long as a student can explain how they got the wrong answer and feel good about it. And you wonder why we don't have a space program anymore. Well, I didn't know the thing was going to blow up with all those people inside, but I feel kind of good about it. Unbelievable. The English arts curriculum textbooks used in Common Core in Utah, called Voices, Literature, and Writing, emphasize the democracy plan, preparing students for community organizing. The German poet Goethe, a classical liberal, warned us that democracy is incompatible with liberty. This is unbelievable what these people are doing. It is something that needs to be stopped. It's unbelievable. The Washington Examiner has come out with a infographic. And we all love infographics. Infographics are cool. There are 19 cities in the United States of America that are in the Detroit lifeboat. In case you have been under a rock or uninformed, Detroit declared Chapter 9 bankruptcy. There are many reasons why this happened. Most of them stem from the way the city was run. But there are some common denominators between Detroit and other cities. Let's take a look at the map. The entire key of the thing is the city employees ratio versus the citizens. The cities that do worse have more employees per citizen than the cities that are doing well. It is almost an established fact. The Washington Examiner used the Census Bureau's 2011 annual survey of public employment and payroll to rank every city with a population of 200,000 people or more. Now, some of these cities managed to get along fine with comparatively few municipal employees, such as San Diego, which has 9,501 employees for 1.3 million residents, or one for every 137 residents. Let's take a look at das Map. And here we go. Here is the map. You can see all the dots on the map. The green dots mean they are in no danger. The light green ones, slight danger. The yellow ones kind of mean that they're in a little bit of danger. And the red dots are highly dangerous for the residents of the city. Let me see if I can scroll down here a little bit and take a look at what you are seeing. Okay, we can go on. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at Detroit right here. Detroit, a city worker for every 61 residents. There's a little graphic at the bottom there where you can see, if you are watching on the screen stream, right down here is the little graphic that shows you how many people are shared by public employees. 61 residents for every city worker in Detroit. Now let's go to, let's go down here. Right here, Baton Rouge. A city worker for every 30 residents. That is a city. They have determined that it is a very in a lot of danger, right? Bright red. Let's go over here to this city right here in the middle of the map, Denver. A city worker for every 49 residents. And what about over here in San Francisco? A city worker for every 28 residents. Holy crap. That's Atlanta, Georgia. A city worker for every 51 residents. Baltimore, a city worker for every 43 residents. You can see, let me zoom in on this for you so you can see it better on the screen. There you are. For those of you that are watching on screenleap.com/Belzan, you can see the map there with all of the red dots, green dots, orange dots, and light green dots. You can see, besides Detroit, there are a lot of other cities that are in mortal danger of going belly up like Detroit. And I see, looking in the chat room, that one of our good friends down in Mexico, a good friend of ours, is saying that apparently Common Core is now in Mexico. Official school programs eliminated F as a failure. Now all pass all courses because they do not want to hurt the self-esteem of the little snowflakes in the classes. That is the first step, because we've had that here in the United States for many years. If you go out for sports, everybody gets a trophy. They don't keep score anymore because that would hurt their self-esteem. I just hope to God we don't have like a World War or something after these kids grow up, because they're going to be sitting there, oh, no. Getting shot at is hurting my self-esteem. I can't do that. Unbelievable. Okay, let's go on to some happy news, such as this from Political Outcast. What is driving the Middle East uprisings? Just to bring up the mood a little bit of the show. This was written on July 22nd at politicaloutcast.com by Jerry Bauer, and he filed it under Culture, Education, Middle East, the Police State, and Terrorism, which will give you a pretty good clue as to what this article is about. Much has been written about the various uprisings which have been gaining strength and momentum since 2008. And lest you forget, Syria started as an uprising. Turkey has had a lot of protests. Egypt is still a crap hole on the Nile, waiting to implode. The only thing that's holding that country together is the military, preventing a civil war there, plus other small countries that also have protests and whatnot that they crack down on pretty hard. It usually takes the tack of focusing on the abuses of the particular regime in question, because the press tends to see things through the eyes of the official underdog when they report on a story around any conflict. They always report through the eyes of the underdog, unless you happen to be a white Hispanic guy getting your head pounded into the pavement by somebody on top of you, in which case you're the bad guy. You should just lay there and die. But that's in this country, that's not around the world. Supply-side economists like this Jeffrey Bauer have pointed to the ways in which monetary debasement, and as a matter of fact, we are going to be having a guest coming up. I think it is the second or third show that we are going to do. It is going to be on, hold on a second here while I bring up a calendar here on the desktop and go to August. And I believe he is going to be on August 14th or the 21st. August 14th to 21st, 7 o'clock Eastern. The guy that we're going to have on has written 2 of the best books that I have ever read about the United States economy and what they are doing wrong. I want to make sure that you tune in for that. Supply-side economists have pointed to the ways in which monetary debasement by the United States helped set off a wave of food price spikes and launched an inflation infatada. That's right. If you remember, this originally started, and I forget which country it was in, by a gentleman setting himself on fire because of a spike in food prices, precipitated, of course, by the United States of America. So one has to ask themselves, this. We know, for a pretty good fact, that there are false flag events. Depending on how far down the well of the conspiracy world that you are down, it is either the cold, dark, swift waters of paranoia, or saying, isn't that something? Maybe that was a conspiracy. A conspiracy, of course, is when 2 or more people get together and plot to do something. That is the definition of a conspiracy. So, conspiracy theorists aren't plotting to do anything. They are espousing theories, which means that the word conspiracy has been twisted out of recognition in the English language. At any rate, suppose for a moment that somebody, somewhere, wanted to start a series of revolutions in order to get quote-unquote democracy headed by the Muslim Brotherhood and others in certain countries. And they thought to themselves, you know what? What could we do? Because we don't sell them oil. We don't sell them oil. So what do we have that we sell them? Clothes? No, that's made in Indochina. That's not it. What do we sell them that we could screw around with that would make them actually panic? And oh boy, what could it? You know, it's got to be something. It's got to be something, they probably said to themselves, that would also be painful to our own citizens too, to show them who's boss, to keep them down, so that they come to us for help instead of trying to help themselves. Now, what could we do? Wait a minute, I got an idea. Let's do something to the economy so that food prices spike. Wait a minute, if we make the price of corn go up, beef and chicken and anything that uses fertilizer and stuff that relies on those corn products, that's going to skyrocket. So let's do that. Yeah. So, monetary debasement by the United States helped set off a wave of food price spikes and launched an inflation intifada. So, did somebody do this all on purpose? Is that possible? Possible, not probable, but very possible. The conspiracy theorist in me, the one that has the dark, swift-flowing waters of paranoia running just out of reach, would say, I wouldn't put anything past these idiots. So, he continues. This is an article at politicaloutcast.com by Jerry Bauer. He continues, very little has appeared in the public discussion about the demographic component of this wave of destabilization. People that have a certain amount of intelligence about them have looked at this, the demographic component of this destabilization. Those of us that actually think for ourselves, but the vast swaths of sheep who are all sitting around saying,
little lambs who have lost our way.
The ones that are singing that song don't have the wherewithal, the attention span, the ability, or the desire to look at the demographic components of this. Doesn't matter. As long as their damn big screen TV comes on and they can put gas in the SUV, provided it's not too expensive, of course, they don't give a crap. And that's a shame, because although there are real economic risks in a country which gets out of balance and skews too old, there are also severe consequences to a country which gets out of balance in the opposite direction, at least when that occurs in conjunction with other risk factors. Which leads me to another side point in this discussion, is this. Do we here in the United States, since we have real economic risks from the massive debt that we have. In fact, I read yesterday that if we take yesterday's debt of the United States in the form of $1 bills, it would go from the earth to the moon, to the earth, to the moon, to the earth, to the moon, to the earth, to the moon, back to the earth. That is our national debt. So we have that economic risk. We have the economic risk of, what is it now, 40% nearly 50% of the United States is now at the poverty level. 50%. The ones that aren't can't hold up this society forever. So yes, we do have risks here. this wave of these protests that were set off in the Middle East, there is a very real risk of it happening here in the Western world, even in the United States. I know a lot of people don't like to think about that, but it's true. Now, if you skew too young in all of this, you get a revolution. It is the young people that drive the revolutions. An analysis of all the countries that have gone through a revolution, coup attempt, or civil war in the recent Arab Spring shows that every single one of them had a median age of 24 or younger. Which leads me to a exercise in futility as we attempt to search the web. I am going to type in what is the median age of the United States. I'd put in the country formerly known as the United States, except Google would probably report me to the NSA. So here we go. Let's see if anything comes up in the old search here. United States median age, updated as of 2013. Here we go. At the last census, it was 36.8. So, let me see here. In Afghanistan, it's 17.9 years. In Albania, it's 31.2 years. So, the United States, the median age, let's see, climbed from, in the United States in 2000, the median age was 35.3, and in 2013, it was 36.8 years old. So, we can say, by using that data, and also the data with the Arab Spring, although you have the religious component that's built in to the Arab Spring because of the Muslim religion, you can say that the United States is not in as much of a danger as the Arab Spring countries, because a median age of 24 or younger is what has been triggering this. The story of political revolutions is more often than not the story of starting with a nation that has a low life expectancy and high birth rates, hence the young median age. Which, if we go back to our conspiracy and the dark, still, swift-flowing waters of my paranoia, we could say that if you were to put in place, say, something like a universal health care system that has, let's say death panels that decide on the worth of an individual, what an individual can return to society at their age. And they say, the guy that's 20 years old that needs the operation would be much more productive to society than the guy over here that's 65 years old that needs a new knee. So that guy doesn't get a new knee and he's just going to go ahead and suffer. Or the guy that needs a heart transplant that's, say, 60 years old. To hell with that guy. He's too old to be productive. Give it to the 20-year-old. Do you suppose that the median age will then begin to fall? Might take 10, 15, 20 years for that to start to slide. But you have to remember, if you take the Common Core, and a lot of school systems are now using it, a lot of states are now using it, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to stop it. You take the Common Core, where they are teaching things that are like community organizing, and how there is no liberty in this country, blah, blah, blah. You have to have pure democracy in order to have liberty, and all the other garbage that goes with it. Once those kids start to get up into being voting members of society, say in their 20s, and you start killing off the older people just by, we can't afford to give you that new knee or that heart transplant or that operation or whatever. So just give them some pills and let them fade off into the distance. Sort of like what they do in the UK. So you've got the economic component. You've got the food price spike component. The only thing you don't have here in the United States that they have over there in the Arab Spring countries is the higher median age. The paranoid conspiracy theorist among us might say that they are actually attempting to lower the median age in order to trigger a revolution, in order to actually get rid of the Constitution to put in place what they want. That, ladies and gentlemen, is called Cloward and Piven. I suggest you look it up. Cloward and Piven. That is a very disturbing thought. I just decided I don't like my paranoia anymore. Now, continuing on with this article. If you skew too old and you get a regime of get off my lawn types, perfectly groomed, no change, frozen in time, a slow death, a Japan which dreams of its former glories, thinks any possible future lies with robots, is obsessed with horror movies about vengeful ghosts of discarded children, and sells more adult diapers per year than it does baby diapers, paints a sad but accurate picture of the future of that nation. Interestingly, the Nordic types seem more cinematically captivated by lurid crime films about murdered children who are avenged by girls with dragon tattoos than they are about waterlogged girl ghosts. The traditional remedies prescribed by the global elite opinion don't seem to help much. For example, a higher education is not a reliable social stabilizer. The old cliche about universities as schools of revolution seems to match the history better than the newer cliche about how sending them off to college keeps them off the streets. So, that article right there at politicaloutcast.com has triggered some very, very interesting thoughts on my part about what we're seeing here in the United States, maybe a 20 or 30 year look into the future, and what is happening in the Arab Spring countries. Maybe if you're an Illuminati or a New World Order believer, maybe you could say that the Middle East is a trial run for this attempt at getting rid of the only bastion of freedom that is left, the United States of America. Could be a trial run. Could be we might have another 15 or 20 years. If that's the case, personally, I just hope to God I'm dead by then. But if not, then I will do what I have to do what I have to do. Our last story for the evening, because it is 7:30, and I suspect that Blog Talk Radio is going to kick me off shortly, even though it's telling me I've got 14 minutes left. I don't buy it, because they're frequently wrong with their little number things. The last story for tonight is this. Do you remember Michael Hastings, the Rolling Stone reporter? And don't get on me about Rolling Stone. He was a good reporter, probably the best reporter that magazine ever had. Remember how his Mercedes, and he drove like an old lady. That's what his friends, that's what his family said. He drove like an old lady. Didn't speed, didn't go racing around. Remember how his car slammed into a tree so hard in Los Angeles that the engine ejected itself 200 feet away and he was killed instantly. You remember that Michael Hastings thing? And there was some theory, because there's surveillance footage of the car flying by doing 100 miles an hour in front of a cop car. Not only was there a dash cam and a security cam, but there was a police car there. He flew by the police car doing 100 miles an hour and the cop didn't even move. Think about that. Crashed into a tree, the car blows up, he's dead, and he was on a story, the story of his lifetime. And a lot of people said, well, maybe somebody made his car veer out of control on purpose. And of course, the authorities said, well, I don't know about that. I don't think that's going to happen. But, that's pretty much impossible for something like that to happen. You can't hack into a car and make it go out of control. That's crazy talk. That's a conspiracy. That's a conspiracy. That's what that is. Well, let me tell you something. Prepare yourself for some real doom. That's right, some real doom. Hackers take over cars and they're government funded. If you're at all the slightest bit skeptical of the emerging capability of hackers to take control of your electronic devices, then don't watch the video at the link. Why? Because you may never drive your car again after you see how a couple of government-funded tech guys were able to hack into and take control of one of the reporter's vehicles. And they've done this on multiple vehicles. And this is what the video shows. The show notes are going to be up at ussamichigan.com after the show, probably later tonight or tomorrow morning. These guys are sitting in the back seat. The reporter is driving his car. Okay? He's driving down the road. Here's what happens. They do a little bit of clicking on the little laptop, and all of a sudden the speedometer goes up to 199 miles an hour all by itself. And then he tries to step on the brakes to slow down. The brakes don't work. They've disconnected the brakes. They've disconnected the brakes and the speedometer from his car. And then guess what happens? Without any input from the driver whatsoever in this vehicle, the same type of technology that was in Hastings' Mercedes, the car suddenly turns left and goes into a guardrail all by itself. That's what these hackers, government funded, were able to do. So all of a sudden, that Michael Hastings theory about somebody taking control of his car and killing him on purpose sort of starts to make sense. Because don't forget, Mercedes have that little radar thing and the crash avoidance thing, because in these cars, especially a lot of these Mercedes, they have devices in them. When you come up on traffic that's a lot slower, they'll step on the brakes for you. If a kid runs out in front of into the street and you don't see it, they'll step on the brakes for you. So why the hell didn't this car step on the brakes for Michael Hastings? Huh? Why? What, that was defective or something? His Mercedes was defective? Hell no. And this thing hit this tree hard enough to actually eject the engine 200 feet away? Unbelievable. Anyways, the experiment was a product of reporter Andy Greenberg at Forbes, who wanted to see just how vulnerable cars are to hacking by Charlie Miller and Chris Valasek, two researchers who received an $80,000 grant from DARPA, the Pentagon's research wing. The scary answer, shown in the video report, is very vulnerable. Also, along the same lines, the hacker who showed how the emergency alert system could be hacked and who was due to demonstrate how he could kill somebody with a pacemaker remotely, just stand within 10 feet of him, push a button, and they die. His name was
90
Barnaby.
seconds.
His name was Barnaby Jack. He died in San Francisco just 2 days before he was supposed to demonstrate that technology. Now think about that. All these people that are dying, all these scientists that are dying, this reporter that died, something stinks, and it's not my feet. At any rate, I have been alerted by Blog Talk Radio that we are going to be going off the air and in about 90 seconds. So I will say this. Don't forget to join me next time on August 7th, and I will be sending out an email on August 7th, 2013, on the new network, which is, let me get up here so I give it to you correctly, Freedom Talk Radio 2013, here on Blog Talk Radio. So my name is Bill Zam, and we are surrounded by idiots. I love that echo thing. We'll see you guys later. Thank you for stopping by for the show, and everybody have a good evening. Bye.
10 seconds.
End the episode. There we go.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay. Okay, there we go. And we are gone. Alrighty, and there we go. Hopefully everything worked out.